Welcome to the Topic of the Episode show, the segment where we talk about the topics that we give you to talk about to us. We discuss what you said and what we think all together about a specific topic.
Right.
It's the viewer mail kind of thing.
Yeah. And so this week we're going to talk about our favorite cutscenes.
Yes.
Because stories in game, not every game has a story, but the more memorable ones tend to.
Yeah.
And there are specific moments that really stand out in our minds, whether it was, a character development or just something really impressive. Mm-hmm. So I kind of wanted to start it with, and I imagine you'd have similar stories for Final Fantasy VII, but in Final Fantasy VIII, there's two specific scenes where you're walking around with your character, and then it goes into a cutscene, like it goes into an FMV cutscene over which your character is running. And like the first time that it happens, you don't really do anything. You're just kind of walking down a hallway, and then it kind of zooms out and shows you Balam Garden.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. And then I want to say end of disc 2, there's actually an attack. And so, like, you see this battle, and you see stuff exploding, and people fighting and dying, and you're running through this to get to the other side. Yeah. And that was a crazy advance of the tech that I had never seen before. And so that, obviously now it looks pretty bad.
Sure.
But at the time, it was something that really brought it out. And Final Fantasy VIII has some of the most wonderful cutscenes, like the opening cutscene with Libri Fatali going in the background, and the slashing and the scars, and like that's where the game starts.
Yes,
is with this epic scene with the protagonist and the quasi antagonist just working together or fighting together, and it's beautiful.
It really is. You're right, because Final Fantasy is on my list as well. Final Fantasy VII, the intro. First of all, I cannot count how many times I watched the intro, because I played the demo. I watched. I would just put in the demo disc just to watch the intro.
Yep.
It was mind blowing.
Yeah.
To have something like that on a console. We'd had something similar on PC, but for a console, you'd have to have a very expensive PC at the time.
Yeah.
For a console, this was completely mind blowing. There was a time when consoles were more powerful, if not as powerful as PC, and they were pushing the boundaries. And PC's now obviously taken over, but when it comes to the graphical race, but the other cutscene, other than the intro, is the death of Aeris, which it was just crushing. To have that happen, and I know I'm in the minority, because I shipped Cloud and Aeris, and apparently most people shipped Cloud and Tifa, whatever.
She's showing more skin.
I guess.
And they were prepubescent boys.
I guess they were because I didn't ship that, so it was heartbreaking to me, because she was my healer. I mean, my core team, and I think a lot of Final Fantasy games like this, my core team was Barret, her, and Cloud.
Yeah.
That was my core. And then I'd throw in Red 13 or someone else in there and everything. But that was my core, and that way I could do a lot of damage. Barret was soaking up, like... Barret I gave, like...
cutscenes.
What? Okay, so it really hurt me when that happened. But I think some of my other cutscenes that were some of my favorites, one of my favorites was in Ocarina of Time. And I loved Ocarina of Time's way of telling the story through the cutscene, giving you quasi-options. But one thing that I really liked about it in that era was all these other games were doing the FMV, flip over to FMV and then flip back. And the N64, you can talk about blocky graphics or whatever, but the consistency for it to flow and those characters to be exactly the way that they are everywhere was just amazing.
There's a moment, excuse me, when you're getting told the story by the tree.
Yeah.
After he tells you about the goddesses and how the Triforce was formed, and I also like those because they're quick, they're succinct, they're information.
Yes.
Really fast, and you get to retain everything. But so after he tells that story, and there's a whoosh, 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 and you see the goddesses flying off, which is really fun. But the camera zooms out, and it shows Link sitting on the ground listening to it.
Yes.
And that for me kind of informed the way that I watched future cutscenes that were talking about other things. It was like, oh, this is the part where I sit back and enjoy, and that's something that there's a lot of little things that you can put into cutscenes to make them special. I don't know if you'll let me have this one, but I'm going to put the Blizzard animated shorts for Overwatch as cutscenes.
I will put that on there because they're quasi cutscenes.
They're canon, and it's part of the game.
It would have been cutscenes had it been a different format of a game. That's the reason that I'm gonna do it, because if you were playing something that was isometric, or if it was just all single player campaign, those would be your cutscenes.
Well, and things that happen in that game or in the cutscenes are actually illustrated in the world.
Yes,
which is just one of my favorite things ever. But yeah, and like the way that they do that, and the little tidbits that we've watched repeatedly over and over and over. Is just really fun to get to watch and see how that goes, because we dig into those like we do in Dark Souls lore. Yeah, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Karen mentioned that the only one one of her favorites was Kingdom Hearts. So I'm guessing the first one. She said she'd the opening to Kingdom Hearts seen at least 20 times. That's how I am with Final Fantasy. It's something. The opening of Kingdom Hearts does it as well. It just pulls on your heartstrings. It really does. And there's something about that emotional pull that draws you in and keeps you playing a game. And I think that we're talking about like the brevity in Breath of the Wild. The very start opening credits, if you will, as soon as you get out of the Shrine of Resurrection. You're running up a hill, and then it just pulls back, and you see the scope of the world, and it's beautiful, and it's exactly what was needed in there. And also, speaking of brevity, I would put the cutscenes for Diablo and Diablo 2 into this. Diablo 3 is a completely different category, but or story. Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, very brief.
Okay, so I'm. Okay, if you haven't played Diablo 2, you should have done that by now. I'm not even going to worry about spoiling. But when you get to the end of Diablo 2 and that character's been talking to Marcus that whole time. Yeah. And he takes the stone, and then you realize that's not an angel, that's the freaking devil. And then then the blood's spreading, and he walks out, and just flames pop up behind him, and he just leaves. And midway through the game, at the end of Act 3, when the traveler from the beginning becomes Satan, he's no longer to contain. Like, these moments were amazing, and like the rest of the story, the dialogue was interesting. But those cutscenes were so magnificent, and very like the Tyrael Bale battle, like so much of that game was good. And so basically what we're saying is Square and Blizzard just have it here. I'm really enjoying the cutscenes in Neo too.
I like the cutscenes in Neo. They are just long enough for you to get some story, get some background, get some really cool stuff about like William's snark about certain things is really cool. I don't know how far you've gotten in it.
I like one of my favorite lines so far is when that one girl says that she doesn't hang out she doesn't associate with drunk samurai. Yeah, and he goes, "I'm not a samurai." She's like, "Oh, great, just a drunken peasant." She's like, that's not any better.
That's perfect. Yeah.
But in this conversation, we have to mention Quantum Break.
Yes.
Because those were episodes put inside of a game, and it was marvelous. They
were, and that brings cutscene into a completely different realm. Yeah. It's not really a cutscene anymore, but at the same time, it is the top.
It's the evolution.
It's the evolution, yeah.
Or it might be if it weren't so expensive.
It was so expensive to make. I like the idea, and Halo talked about this forever ago, which I love. I love Halo's a good example of this as well when it comes to storytelling. In regards to the brevity, they tell you just enough info to get you to understand the context, and then get you back into the action. But 3-4 years ago, they were saying, all right, Halo's going to have, we got books, but we're also going to have a TV
Steven
series.
Spielberg
a
TV
Steven Spielberg
series.
TV, yeah.
Which we're still waiting on.
Yep. I like the idea of it being a TV series and a game, and for you to be able to enjoy both separately. I think that's the key. If you do that, it can be a great experience. And if they do go that route, it would be fine if you had some kind of like animated Netflix series. For instance, like we had with Final Fantasy 15, you had the Brotherhood.
I liked that series a lot. They were like 15-minute episodes, and they were really good. And I honestly believe that if I had not watched the anime, I would not have finished the game. Because I had so many problems with the gameplay, but the characters, Gladiolus and Ignis and Prompto, they kept me into the game longer than I would have otherwise. Gotcha. Last two I want to mention. First off is the opera in Final Fantasy VI, which is absolutely a cutscene.
It is.
Before they could do the FMV and everything.
A great example of, and everyone had talked about the opera and told me about it, that it was great. And I'm glad I hadn't seen it and it wasn't spoiled for me, because experiencing that, for those who have not, I guess I'll spoil it, but like you're going through a cutscene in a SNES game, and you're interacting during it, timing wise. So I didn't expect that, because the in that era, you would have a really quick, like, here's some dialogue, and the characters move a little bit, and then you would then get to play. I didn't know I was supposed to be playing. I thought we were in a cutscene where I...
Okay, so one of the really clever things about the way that they did that is the first prompt that you're given has two options, and if you do nothing, that is the correct response. It'll automatically select the first one for you. And then the second one, you do the second response. The third one, you do the first response.
So if you miss it...
So if you're not paying attention, or you're like, wait, what's happening? Oh, that's the...
Yeah.
It gives you a little bit more of a clue, and it wants you to succeed.
I got the responses. I didn't get, now you're supposed to run up, and then the dancing. I didn't get the timing right on that, but it's a great example. I don't know if you were going to mention this, because the one other thing I was going to mention was The Last of Us.
Absolutely, that was what I was going to mention.
Because The Last of Us is the pinnacle when it comes to PS3. It is the game. If you have a PS3 and if you've not played that, it's breathtaking. It's beautiful. Storytelling wise, it is remarkable. The way that they tell stories within the game is great as well, but the cutscenes in it are just astounding.
Yeah, and like there's the way that they integrated cutscenes and dialogue, and like all of this kind of wraps up together, because there are actual cutscenes, but most of the things that you experience and a lot of the most poignant moments are within the game.
Yeah.
Like there's a mechanic wherever you go over to an area and you boost her up with triangle, and you go over there and you try to boost her up with triangle, and she's just sitting over on a bench somewhere, and then you go over there and there's dialogue.
Yep.
Like they consistently broke your I'm video gaming right now.
Yeah.
And they use those to call your attention to use previous gameplay elements to let you know what's about to happen is important.
Yeah.
And that happens right before one of the most special scenes in a video game that we won't spoil here, but it was just a really it was a calm moment when we needed a calm moment.
It was, and it shows that your people hate the companion quests, the you have to, the protection quest, if you will,
escort mission.
Yeah, I don't know why I was blanking on that. So people hate escort missions, and to have a game that's almost an escort mission, but it's not.
But without all the things that make us hate escort missions.
And what I love about it also is it shows, not like you said through the cutscenes as well, but it shows what she's going through. And that she's not just following you all the time blindly. There's something that catches her eye. She's going to go look at it, and it's remarkable in that case. Yeah.
So those are some of our favorite and a couple of your favorite cutscenes in video games. And that's what we have for this week. And we will see you later. Thanks for talking with us.
Take care.